Hey, fragrance friends and enthusiasts, welcome back. It's Benjamin here at the Centaur Fragrance Channel, showcasing some more beautiful fragrances with and for you guys. I hope that you're doing absolutely fantastic. What you smelling like? What's your scent of the day? Please let me know in the comment section below. Let's jump into that conversation. Please get involved. I'm friendly. I respond to your comments. And let's talk about a brand new house. This is the house of Olfactum Fragrances, guys. This is a whole new beautiful niche house, and they're absolutely fantastic. I think they're worth talking about. They were generous enough to send me this little discovery set with their first 4 releases, and let's talk about them. I have some great things to say and maybe some things that are a tiny bit of critiques. Y'all know how I do it, but the first one is probably my favorite, so let's get the first one out of the bag. This is Barbae. Again, I don't know really the meaning behind this fragrance. They have a description, and I have looked at that description, and I'm not sure exactly where Barbae comes from. It's supposed to be a little bit more of a barbershop or classically inspired fragrance, so maybe it's Bay. Maybe it's a pretty barbershop. I'm not exactly sure, but this is a beautiful pineapple citrus fragrance. It has a little bit of mint. It has some cypress qualities and some aromatics going on. In the background, in the very background, there are a little bits of some fougere-like qualities, like a little bit of a modern moss that almost feels like the moss in Pacific Rock Moss by Goldfield and Banks. And it has some really, like, just light aromatic fresh qualities about it. This is a very happy fragrance. Again, to my nose, the pineapple almost has a star fruit like quality, which I actually quite like, having a tiny bit of interesting floral, deeper floral nuance, and almost a tiny bit of waxiness to the pineapple. So I really quite like that. There is some mandarin orange that really lightens and brightens this thing up. It makes it just a happy classic fragrance. This is definitely more on that classic, more on that modern classical side of fragrances, where it has, using modern notes and using a little bit of modern, a different types of composition, but it still retains some of that classic DNA and uses some of those classic notes, but it's done in a different style, and I quite like that. I think this is a beautiful juice that really needs to get mentioned, and I think a lot of people wouldn't like this. This is actually one of my, there's a lot of pineapple fragrances, there's a lot of Ventus fragrances, there are clones that are a dime a dozen. This one is one of my favorite pineapple fragrances I've tried in a long time. Simply, guys, this one, for the money, St. Kitts by Tommy Bahama, that one's really hard to beat. One of the best bangs for your buck out there, no doubt about it. And probably Napoleon Cologne by Zoha, probably my favorite pineapple fragrances out there. I'm kind of getting back into pineapple a little bit. The Aventus craze to me has died down, at least in my mind, a little bit, and I'm starting to really let myself enjoy a bit pineapple smelling things again, because for a while I kind of got tired of it. I heard too much about Aventus. People were talking way too much about it. It kind of burnt me out. It kind of tired me out of that smell. But this one has a good blend. Maybe it's not the same, but maybe think of something like Aventus mixed with Beau de Jour. So there's a little bit of that almost Beau de Jour, like really modern, classic men's kind of fragrance, really brought to be fresh and mass appealing. So likable fragrance. I think that this one's probably the strongest release out of the whole collection. The next one I wanted to mention is called Milliwelles. I'm not exactly sure what this fragrance is all about. The notes aren't listed, so it's hard to describe. But I get this really interesting, almost reminds me a little bit of the cinnamon off of Mexican or Spanish, like of the hot chocolate they have is actually mixed with spices and cinnamon, and that's how they like to do it. And there's a little bit of a cinnamon vibe here that reminds me of that cinnamon again from that Mexican hot chocolate. It's not a hot chocolate fragrance at all, though. This is more of a incense type of fragrance. It has some musk and some incense. It's lighter, but it has like a really interesting, like pink pepper or playful, fresh cinnamon vibe to it. So, really interesting fragrance. There's something in the background that's really hard to describe. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Maybe it's a fresh licorice. There's some really interesting, fresh, airy quality about this fragrance, almost like it's not root beer, but it almost reminds me of that. So like almost a unique fresh woodiness perhaps as well. So really interesting fragrance. I think that this one, you can wear it as a very safe, inoffensive fragrance, but this one could be layered and would be very interesting to layer and make it a combo, and mix things up a little bit in your collection. So to me, that's what this one is all about. really interesting in its own way. And I do think for a incense, daily wear, versatile, incognito type of fragrance to just smell fresh and clean, I think this is one of the more interesting ones. And I do think it does a good job, but it might confuse people. That might not be your thing. If you want, if you want to get noticed, and if you want, something mass appealing, that one might not be exactly your kind of thing, but it still smells pretty darn good. The next one is one that I'm still trying to wrap my head around and grasp. It's called Saint Nick. It's based off Santa Claus, and to me, it reminds me of people maybe cooking in the kitchen for the holidays, and some of that waft of those smells and those spices, and maybe going up the chimney, and maybe somebody's about beginning to start the fire, and it's like the holidays and the beginning of the fire starting to burn. So there's a tiny bit of smoke, and there's a little bit of this warm feeling to it, but it's not exactly terribly smoky, but it kind of goes in that direction. I get a little bit of the oiliness of clove in this fragrance. It's a little bit spicy, it's a little bit deep, it's a little bit woody. It doesn't have vanilla or any of the other gourmand notes that a lot of these fragrances tend to have. It's a little bit, again, woodier and spicier, and I find that quite interesting. It does have some smoky elements, but to my nose, it's not terribly smoky, but it does have some smoky elements. So I find this really interesting. Maybe this is what old Saint Nick, Santa Claus's clothes smell like after going up and down those dirty chimneys with the, especially back in the day when everybody had wood burning chimneys. I think this might be what his clothes would smell like. So, he's got a little bit of the spices and the cinnamon spices from the cookies and everything, but he's also got a lot of dirt and ash and some woody smells on him. So maybe this is how he smells after Christmas Day. He's worked so hard going down, up and down the chimneys. Anyways, let's talk about the last fragrance here. This one is pretty interesting to me, in my humble opinion. This is the most interesting and the most artistic out of the bunch. This one is called Kerala. I think that's how you say it. This is a fragrance to me that has some incense and some mint. There are a little bit of citrus to me in the fragrance, but it's all about this minty sweet kind of incense combination. That's not very usual. It's not very common. So mint, adding that green, slightly green, fresh quality about it, almost like a mentholy quality, almost like it wakes you up, but then it's kind of cooling at the same time. And then you get some musk that's like bright and kind of sensual. And then you get a really unique sweetness to this one. And again, I do get a little bit of incense to this fragrance. That adds a little bit of sourness and to the background of the fragrance, and you notice that musk and that sourness as that creeps through in the later into the fragrance. At first, there is some sweetness to balance it out, but then it still smells very fresh and perhaps very slightly green, but it's still more of a fresh fragrance. But as time goes on, it just becomes this interesting, refreshing, musky, clean fragrance. So very interesting fragrance. There are some other notes hidden up in here. I don't remember them all. It's not the same, but I think it's Cape Heartache if I remember right. But this fragrance does remind me a little bit of the green quality that comes off that fragrance. I think it's Cape Heartache by Imaginary Authors with that strawberry quality or that strawberry fields kind of smell. Like you go to, if you've ever had the chance to go to strawberry fields where you pick strawberries, there's a unique freshness of that all those strawberries have, and there's a little bit of a green smell to it as well, coming from the leaves of the strawberries, and it's just a beautiful smell. I wish somebody would bottle it and put it into a fragrance. And to me, this is the strongest fragrance I've ever smelled. It's not cut strawberries. It doesn't smell like strawberry juice. It doesn't smell like a strawberry jam or anything like that, or a strawberry dessert. It just smells like the natural smell, the natural odor that strawberries produce. I guess strawberry body odor. So, guys, I'll wrap this fragrance, this introduction to this new fragrance house here. I will include in the description below where you can check out and get the discount code to get 15% off if you do want to jump into some of these fragrances. Get yourself some samples. I think they sell roll-ons. I'm not sure in the future if they're going to sell individual spray fragrances, but use Centaur at checkout, I think, for 15% off. And I'm happy to be able to try this brand and share them with you today. So wear what you love, rock what you got, have a beautiful day, and please help me out down below. I know that y'all know how to help me out if you'd like to. I'll see you next time, everybody. Peace and bye.